All right, Robbie, what is
Hey,
up, my dude?
how's it going, dude?
It's going awesome, my man. Thank you so much, first and foremost, for taking the time today. So sick. I've been so excited writing some of this shit, and this has been one of those interviews that I had to like rewrite quite a few times because I'm like, okay, I think I've heard this a couple of times. He's covered some of this shit, so I can dig into some of these other things. And music-wise, film-wise, I mean, you have a lot going on too. So I'm really excited on digging into some of this stuff. And thank you for taking the time, my man.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah.
So here on Grown on Eli, basically, I have, we're going to kind of start a little bit, in your youth and digging into music and movies and different things, and then going through your career, the years through, being in music and then working in film as well. And then I have one finale that I wrote just for this episode. So if you're
Right.
ready, my man, we're gonna get this bad boy going.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So you recently moved to Massachusetts. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
What what's a local eatery? What's a local spot to you that is a must stop? That's somewhere by you. If my wife and I were coming through doing some traveling, what's a stop that you love that's maybe off the map?
We don't go out too often because of the COVID bullshit. We do
Oh,
order a
right.
lot of food though.
Okay.
I'm a pizza dude, so I just eat a lot of pizza. And
Hell yeah.
we frequent Papa Gino's. I don't know where. I think it's in like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, maybe New Hampshire, but it's really good pizza.
Oh shit. Okay. Nice. I just recently. Have you ever heard of the Boiler Room? It's in Chicago.
No, no.
Ooh, yeah. If you get an opportunity, that's generally my thing. Like if I do some traveling, I try to find like a local pizza spot. That place is fucking awesome. It's really thin, almost burnt on the bottom, but crispy. Holy moly,
Ooh, that's
good shit,
interesting.
dude.
That's kind
Yeah,
of the opposite of what I'd expect from Chicago pizza.
that's what I thought too. I was in town with my band, and they were talking about it, and they were mentioning that it was thin crust. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever like thought of Chicago as like thin crust pizza, so it's kind of fucking weird, but it's so good,
Yeah,
insanely
yeah.
good.
I'll try it if I'm
All
out
right,
there.
let's. Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. If it, digging into music wise, as far as going back into in childhood and being a young man, bring us into some songs, bands, or albums that maybe resonated with you, possibly starting your interest in music in general.
I just kind of listen to whatever my parents put on most of the time. But they had a really cool family friend growing up who was like kind of a tripper. And he turned me
Hmm.
on to
Oh
Violent
yeah, okay.
Femmes and Pink Floyd, like were his mains. So he gave me those CDs. He gave me a permanent record for Violent Femmes and then Dark Side for Pink Floyd, and then I was off to the races from there.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, I can say too. Pink Floyd was one of those things that was early introduced, and even if I didn't want it to be, like I'd get home from school and my dad would just be fucking blasting it in the house, like ridiculously loud from like the tube TV that we had. We had this like DVD. I don't know if you remember. It was like a box set, and or no, maybe it was VHSs. I guess it must
The
have been
live
VHS, but
at
it was like a box
Pompeii,
set.
or
Yeah, yeah, it must have been. It must have been. It was like a really big thing at the time, but they had this box set. He just would play the shit out of that thing, like all the time, way too loud at sometimes.
hell yeah, that
But
shit
I
takes
mean,
you to another place, man. That's journey music right there.
yeah, for sure, for sure. What about as far as like in maybe some later days with music videos? What is something that comes to mind as far as like the first time that a music video drew you in and you were like, holy shit, what is this? Maybe even drew you to the band.
Paranoid Android from
Oh,
Radiohead,
okay,
that
yeah.
cartoon video where, I mean, of course, there's no words. There's a little bit of like grunts here and there,
Hmm.
but it tells a story, just of this boy watching this angel get taken advantage of, and then the person taking advantage of her just kind of chops himself up on accident. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I remember it being like a
Yeah.
cartoony, like hand drawn
Yep.
thing.
Yeah, I just remember we were watching like rap videos when I was younger at my friend Aaron's house, and that came on, and we just went speechless, and it was like, "What the hell? Like, you can do that?" It's like that's pretty wild.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like Primus is like
Oh
when they
yeah.
were on MTV and it was like maybe Mr. Pringle or something. It was on Beavis and Butthead, I think. It was
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is this? Like I feel like that was like an earlier like dawning of like, holy shit, like people can do cool things with music videos, you know, make it like something of their own, or like that, you know, with it being like a hand drawn, you know, kind of cartoonish, you know, take on
Yeah.
something and still being kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
What about as far as like your first, you know, tape or album or CD that you bought with your own money, you know, maybe if it was allowance or, you know, something that you had earned from a job or snagged somehow.
So my mom would always take us out to get things like that, whether it be movies or music. And I think my first tape was the self-titled Korn album with
Oh, nice.
the little girl on the swing set, and that's what made me get it. It was like because it looks so freaking scary, and like I didn't know what was going on because I don't think my mind was like in that dark of a place yet. Like I couldn't tell what they were trying to get across with that. And so I bought it, and I was like, it blew my mind. I was like, this shit is fucking heavy and weird and creepy. My mom hated it.
Nice. I never known. I was listening actually to one of your interviews that Todd McFarlane did Follow the Leader. I
Oh
never knew
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And like
The cover,
now
yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, no kidding. Like, yeah, it fucking completely makes sense. But like, you know, all these years, I remember actually you mentioned your mom hating it. My brother had given me. It was like it wasn't like a poster or anything. It was maybe just like a 10 by 10 of like a promotional thing for Follow the Leader. And I
Oh
hung it up
wow.
on my wall. Thought it was the coolest fucking thing. And my parents saw that and they're like, "You don't even understand what this is saying. Like, no,
Yeah.
this is not hanging up in your room." Like, what? What
Was
happened?
it the
I
album?
never got it back either.
Was it the album art?
The album art, yeah.
It's
Hmm.
so cool. Like, yeah, it's
Dude, that
very,
is
very cool.
absolutely amazing. Yeah, for sure, for sure. That was one of those things too, where like Korn was at this time where like they were banned, you know, and they were on the news and shit, and just like you
Yeah.
couldn't wear T-shirts at school. And it's like, oh my god, like completely got blown out of proportion. But
Yeah.
that's
So,
awesome with
but
that first album. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And then hearing you guys putting, was it Follow the Leader in some of the album inserts that you had?
Yeah, so with Fuck It, when we released that in 2006, we packaged it all ourselves and just for fun, and in a couple of them we just put in CDs that weren't ours. And I remember Follow the Leader being one of those.
Oh my god! Did you ever get any mail or anything from like fans that are like, I don't think I got the right thing here.
No,
I've heard this before.
I think it probably went to some kid and he just didn't know what to do because I think we sold all of them that night um, at the CD release show, and then we never heard about it. So they were probably grateful.
Yeah. That is funny shit. What about as far as like when your interest in music, you know, transitions into playing? You know, what are some things that come to mind as far as like even starting with like your first band? What happened with that? How did you meet these cats and all that?
I lived in a pretty small town in Central California, and I guess there were only a few of us that were into, hardcore or punk or, whatever it may be at the time. And those few of us came together and we started a band called Hatchet and Annie. And it was essentially a beatdown band because it was just breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. Because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were just trying to figure it out. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. We had two vocalists. It was really weird. Sometimes I'll put on one of two of the songs that I can actually find on the internet still, and it's interesting. It's interesting listening to what we thought that music was supposed to sound like back then.
Sure. And I mean, hearing different things like, maybe this was a little bit later, but like Throwdown or,
Oh
some
yeah,
of those bands that were coming out, it was like, it almost seemed like all it was breakdowns after breakdowns. And then you go to write the shit and it's like, why doesn't this sound as cool? Like, what's
yeah,
going on? And there was a little bit more of a formula instead of just,
yeah,
going in and having everything being completely pummeling. So yeah, that's
yeah.
funny. What about your first show? Was this the same band then as far as playing with them, or did you do any like talent shows in school, or how did that come?
So I guess it wasn't my first band. My first band was a kind of a emo band, and we played the winter formal for my high school, which was
Okay.
really silly. But I never count that band as a band. It's because it was kind of a flash in the pan.
Uh, Okay. I mean, did it go over well, or were people standing there just fucking staring at you? Or?
Yeah, it went over pretty well. It was interesting. I remember a couple of kids tried to mosh, and that did not go over very well. Yeah, it was interesting.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, I ask that sometimes, and there's sometimes people who talk about like doing like a talent show or some shit, and then it's like, I tell you, like the 5 or 10 shows after that we played, it was like you had such a high from winning and like people cheering,
Yeah,
and you go and you play other shows, and people don't give a fuck about you. You're like,
nah,
damn, what happened?
not outside of
This
your
sucks.
circle.
I thought this was gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. What about traveling? Your first time, getting in a band and traveling, maybe out of state or going out on tour. Were you prepared? Did you feel like you over prepared? How'd that go?
That was with that band Hatchet and Nanny. We our first tour, or our first time ever leaving the the town, was to play with Heavy Heavy Lolo, before I had joined them, and
Mhm.
we I think we played in San Jose, and then we went up to like Roseburg, Oregon, and then Tacoma, Washington. It was super spaced out. Nobody showed up to any of the shows, but I made friends with
Oh,
Heavy Heavy Lolo, and I joined them a couple months later.
oh, okay. They've been in a band for a few years, right? Like 3 or 4 years before then.
I think 1 to 2. I'm not sure though.
Oh, okay, okay.
There were different variations of it prior to me joining.
Oh, okay. All right. What about, maybe even up until recently, like with doing some of the live things that you've done with Bone Cutter or these earlier shows, what's like a pre-show ritual or something that you do as far as maybe warming up or kind of centering yourself to get ready?
Smoking pot. Smoking pot. Having a
Just
couple of
getting real
beers.
centered.
Yeah, yeah. I've never gotten used to being a front man or being listened to or anything like that. I never embraced it or got used to it. So every time was just an anxious mess, you know. So uh, so I coped with pot, you know, some pot and a couple of beers. So yeah, either
Okay.
that or just listening to some good music. Some usually something that does not sound at all like what you're about to play, like ABBA or something like that. Just something to get juiced.
Get some energy into it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
get some jive.
And that's the cool thing with, I mean, with being able to talk to, like with different people like this, is hearing different things where some people have a real rigorous, like an hour before, other people like, I just go out and do it, like it's kind of
Yeah,
one of those things that I admire, that because like if I go out and I'm going to play a show, like I have to have a couple of minutes to kind of prep myself, and playing drums and shit, my arms and fucking feet, get all tired, and so I'm just trying to. But there's other people I talk to, they're like, man, I just go up and just do it. I'm like, fuck. I
yeah.
wish
You
I
drummers are
wish I
just
had
like
that. I gotta.
all day before the show.
Yeah. I've watched like through this whole pandemic thing and everything, Chris playing and doing some of like the lives that he was doing on here, and god damn, that dude just goes. Like I've seen you guys live too, and I mean there's definitely that energy, but for as long as he would go and do some of this stuff, I'm like, holy shit, man, he goes
Yeah, he
for sure.
goes. He's a machine.
what what can you tell us, digging into Heavy Heavy Lola? What can you tell us about the cover for Everything's Watched, Everyone's Watching, and how it came to front the album?
Um, it's pretty simple. It's just like a there are two sides to everything. Some people are clean drains, some people are hairy drains. And I was always fascinated with the drain as I don't know if I have a slight case of tryptophobia or something, but the drain as I've stared at drains for a long time in my life, and then for that hair in a drain, I just knew that was disgusting, so I wanted to put that on there because I hate that. I hate
Nice.
digging hair out of the fucking drain, or like anybody
Oh.
leaves hair in the goddamn drain. It's gnarly.
Yeah, I don't think it's a topic much, like mentioned, but for sure that is fucking gross.
Yeah.
Is that something like when you see a movie like It, where it like take the whole drain aspect comes to mind, and you're like, holy fuck, someone tapped into like my
Yeah.
worst nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, especially the poster you have back there. I thought they did the drain stuff a little creepier than 2018, I think it was.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
that was good stuff with all the whispering in there. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of cool things. I mean, with the original, and I think the remake had a couple of things that I don't know if you'd read the book or not.
Oh
I had to
yeah.
listen to it because the thing was so goddamn long. I've tried many times reading it, but I thought there was some cool things like with the newer movie where that they kind of had touched on some of the things like from the book. But yeah, cool things all in all. But the drain thing is really funny, and that certainly has to be something that drew me early on. That, and I think that it was released on Ferret, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was
Okay.
released on kind of a like an imprint label. Our booking
Mhm.
agent had started a label called New Weatherman, and I think Ferret took it in as
Oh,
like to
right.
give it some 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 repute or whatever.
Oh, okay, okay. What about as far as I wanted to dig into a couple of songs, with that album, and then also with Turtle Nipple there. And first of all, I wanted to dig into the track ASVLN. Maybe a memory that you have as far as recording the song, and then what some of your favorite guesses were when people were like, "What the fuck does this mean?"
Yeah.
What could what could this mean?
Um, I don't like that song. I mean, something about it for it just to me it just sounds like we just copied and pasted a bunch of things into one song, and I never really liked it. I don't like my lyrics
Okay.
to it. Everything about it is just like, but people like it, so it's like, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
And as far as like the TV code, people were pretty smart. They got it. Like, I mean, I guess enough of us watch TV that when that thing comes up on the screen, it says, like TVMA. Back in the day when they
uh,
had like the, adult situations, language, violence, nudity type thing. I think everybody kind of got that. But I didn't see anybody make any silly guesses.
Oh, okay, okay. I think it was something, and I asked that because at first it didn't like cross me, and for whatever reason that doesn't make sense because I watch plenty of movies and TV,
Yeah.
and it just being one day seeing something like that where I'm like, oh, it's a fucking TV code, like
Yeah.
yeah, no
Yeah.
shit. Okay, what about Party Girls with the end track there on the album?
I do like
What can you
that song.
tell us about that one?
Um, you know, I think we might have written that in the studio. I'm not sure. It would make sense because how short it is. I just like how weird it is. I wish we did a little more like that, where it's just like
Mm.
weird and then it's womp womp. Yeah, it just got super heavy. But
What
yeah,
with
go.
with the secret track that comes after the end of the song, what
Hmm.
where comes into mind as far as the first time you remember hearing a secret track on an album?
Uh, Freaking that Nine Inch Nails EP. I think it's
Oh
Broken.
yeah, okay.
And he covers an Adam and the Ants song, which I never knew it was an Adam and the Ants song until I grew up, until I got a little older. But yeah, that's the first time I noticed it. And then, Follow the Leader also had that. I think it went up to track 99 or something like that.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like a goose chase because you're waiting. You're waiting for it to turn into something. I don't think it ever comes to anything. I think it just gets to 99 and then it ends.
Yeah. What with oh god, yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to is Follow the Leader the one where they have the Cheech and Chong song?
Yeah, 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 like the interlude thing. It's been
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
forever, but that it was such a seminal record. I do remember it quite well.
Dude, that still rules. It still rules. It was funny hearing you bring up Corn because I was on a trip recently and had like shuffle on my stereo playing and shit, and a couple of those songs came on. I'm like, man, this still fucking slaps, like.
It does,
And
yeah.
listening back too, as far as like one thing, I guess the drum standpoint is the real like tingy snare to it, like hearing stuff like that on the
Death metal
radio, even.
snare, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You like you don't
Dong.
really fucking hear that. You have I don't know. It's like a real tight sound, and it just kind of had like a demo like hardcore band, like an East Coast hardcore band or some shit like that sound to to different aspects of it. And I'm like, wow, that's fucking crazy. That it's still as big as it is today. But what?
David Silveria, that's his name, I
Yeah,
think. That guy
yeah.
rocked.
He's got some other band too nowadays. I don't know. Have you ever heard of it?
No, no. I
Me
can't
either.
listen to Korn either. Like I just like nowadays I just like something about it like dredges up these weird like feelings. I don't like it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about Trotline Beer Can? What can you tell us about that bad boy?
We definitely wrote that one in the studio. And we had just toured with Acacia Strain on Sounds of the Underground. And
Oh, okay.
a lot of the bands on that tour treated us kind of shitty. Like they were just like, who are these fucking weirdos? Just like, except for the Devil Wears Prada and Acacia Strain. And Guar. Those were the nicest people to us. And eventually Vincent started singing on Tell Shannon Her Crafts Are Ready. And that was
Oh, no
awesome.
shit.
And we kept in touch with him after that. So when we were doing Turtle Nipple, we hit him up and we were just like, do you want to fuck around on this? And he was down. So I think it added a cool little layer to that record.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the cooler like features, especially because I feel like at that time too, like it was so different. You know, it was like just with your sound. I mean, like you have that where you get like lower and you get real growly and shit. But like having Vincent too, I was like, whoa. I mean, a meeting of two worlds. Like I love the Acacia Strain too, so I heard that and I was like, how the fuck did this happen? Like this is so sad. Nothing that I would have ever like anticipated. But yeah, that was absolutely awesome. So that was something that you guys had toured then, and that was where the connection came?
Yeah. He was one of the only cool people on that tour to us.
Jesus Christ. Then you have Guar, which, they're up there murdering fucking people, and then they have, like the nicest cats that you meet too. Yeah.
They were so freaking cool. Like, oh. Yeah. The homeboy that died, I think his name's Dave or something. He was the coolest dude. He would just walk up to us and be like, you ever taken a bath in LSD? I was like, no.
Did he conclude this with saying that he has and it's a trip?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was his main thing. He would just loved going on drug stories. But he was the sweetest dude.
Oh my God. All right. Well, last up, I wanted to touch on the track Please That Bitch Will Outlive Us All. And what you can tell us about, the writing and maybe even recording of that song.
So we wrote that prior to recording the album, but I wrote the lyrics in the studio for that one. And it's basically,
okay.
Did you ever see The Squid and the Whale?
Yeah.
By Noah Baumbach. So there's a scene in that where the little boy, he jerks off in the library and he smears cum across the books in the library and he just leaves it there. Just like, which is something that, little boys, little fucking weirdos do, like they just, so. And then that I had watched The Squid and the Whale, and then I put that with The Weeds TV show. Did you ever watch that? So there's a quote. Oh, okay, so the song opens with a sample from Weeds, the TV show, and then there's one line in there in the lyrics directly ripped from a quote from the show. So yeah, that was the inspiration for that. It was just like, some of the gnarliest people live the longest type thing, and they take us all down with them.
The Squid and the Whale, there was another movie too that came out right around God, that was like a time where there was these really weird fucking indie movies that were coming out all the time that like people are just constantly introduced, like Dumbo. That was the one I was thinking of. But you ever see that, or like Julian Donkey Boy?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of so that's Julian Donkey Boy was made under the Dogma 95 standard. Yeah. Do you know what that is? Yeah, I'm obsessed with that. So Lars von Trier, Harmony Korine, all those people. Yeah,
wasn't Rushmore Dogma too?
Oh no, because it has to have like diegetic music and like it has to be like I forget what the guidelines are, and they're always breaking the guidelines, but it can't have like a soundtrack that's not being played in real life. So like with Julian Donkey Boy in that dance scene where they're playing the accordion, like that's the only score to it. But yeah, I love it.
I swear I'd read like an article or somewhere saying that was supposed to be like maybe it wasn't directly that, but it was something correlated with that. Because
I
like
would love.
if someone's pregnant, like they're supposed to be actually pregnant in the scene, and like
Yeah,
if someone gets like cut or some shit like that, it's supposed to actually happen. Like yeah, that was really I mean really fucking wild. You know some of the different things that they were putting out under that too. What movie was Lars von Trier's again that
I
he did
think
for
it
that?
was The Idiots, but I'm not sure. Um,
Huh. I don't know if I've even seen that actually. His
it's
stuff is so
pretty
fucking wild.
troubling. It's
Ugh.
so it's about people that pretend to be mentally challenged out in public as catharsis. So it starts in a diner. A woman is sitting there, and these people come in, and they're seemingly mentally challenged, and they're just destroying the place and using that to do it. And then when they leave, they're
Oh,
normal. And she joins their troupe, and it ends in a gosh, one of the most troubling orgies I've ever seen on screen. It's
holy
good.
shit.
It's good stuff though.
Wow. His most recent The House at Jack built. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters. I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Wow.
great.
There was certainly like that ending. I think this would kind of tie into some of our talk with like film, but that ending was one of the ones has to be in all of movies like ever that has just completely stuck with me for fucking months after. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
shook me.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
like this dude that's a complete piece of shit. You just you're just rooting against him the whole time, and then is going and like about to just be in this like sufferable hell. You like start
yeah,
feeling
yeah.
bad for him. It's like how the
Yeah.
fuck this is insane. Like, yeah, that movie's troubling for sure.
The kid
Damn.
death in
All right.
that movie is really something. Yeah, sorry, got on
Ooh.
a tirade.
Yeah, the whole thing. Excuse me. All right. Music wise, going back to more recently, I wanted to start digging into Bone Cutter and what some of the first material that you had heard. I know this was released recently, but you guys have actually had stuff written for some time now, right? It was 2006, 2007, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We
What?
had a
Oh,
dead.
go ahead.
My wife is a dead cat. I think it was written in like 2008, and we were just sitting on it
Oh, okay.
forever. And it just we tried to get the or Heavy back together to try to make another album and to use that, but it just didn't seem realistic. And then while we were touring in Australia, I asked Sam. I was like, "Do you want to just start another band?" And that's what Bone Cutter became.
Oh, sick. Okay. What
Yeah.
were there? So that was like the first stuff that you would end up hearing. And then did you guys go as far as writing the other three songs after that?
I really don't know. It was more of like a studio thing. I know that
Oh,
the
okay.
drums have existed for quite some time, at least 5 years. And then we were building off of that, when we could get into the studio to do that sort of thing, which was
Oh,
not
okay.
often. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, and now as far as like lyrically, what kind of things came into mind as far as content that you were bringing on for this, and having it be some years after being with Heavy Lolo and different inspirations. What came to mind for working on this stuff?
so like one of the songs has Sam Peckinpah's name in it. So Sam Peckinpah is a huge part. And then like Lucio Fulci, I think, inspired the My Wife is a Dead Cat. Um, so yeah, just a lot of horror stuff and just like wanting to make people feel odd, I guess.
I mean, and that was something too. I feel was Sea of Broken Needs. Was that the first track that you guys had released under the new name and everything like that with the video?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And I,
all right. I was gonna say, I
yeah,
feel like that was the first thing that I'd heard from you guys, but I couldn't remember if that was the first thing that you guys actually released. And
yeah,
that video, man, just just as far as like the close ups and everything, I was like, whoa, like they're really fucking tapping into some sick, like almost giallo looking shit. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely love that. That was
Thank
that
you.
was
That was
sick
my
for sure.
goal. I'm glad you. I'm glad you noticed
Love
that. That
that.
was my. Yeah. Thank you.
What about as far as with the with the EP's 4 tracks and the accompanying videos? What went into mind as far as filming? Did you guys like kind of in succession film videos for it, or how did that come about? As far as with you doing one, and then you had Tim, Andrew, and then Robbie Racine, right? Also
Yeah.
did one.
So I made one, and then we were trying to find other people to do it. We wanted a lady to do one. We just couldn't find anybody who would do it for free, which is quite the ask, to ask somebody to make a music video for absolutely free. So Andrew did one. He plays bass for us. He just made one out of archival footage and like stock footage. Timmy actually gave me my first video camera back in 2012, 2013. He gave me a DV cam. It was like, hey, if you want to try to make a movie, here's a camera. And I'll be forever thankful for that. And then Robbie, I've talked to him about movies for quite some time. And our last video, or our last song that we needed a video for was Peck and Paw Leather Crackle. And I know he likes Sam Peckinpah, so I asked him if he'd be down to do it, and he killed it. I love his video.
And that's cool too. I mean, like it was fun and interesting as far as having the new music, but then also having visuals with it too. Sometimes those are kind of things that it draws you into initially hearing one thing and then seeing something else. It's like, all right, maybe I need to dig a little bit more into what it is that I'm hearing and kind of look at the visuals along with it too. And those videos for sure. I mean, the Sea of Broken Needs for sure was one that like stuck out to me as like a horror fan, and just the visuals and kind of overall disgustingness of like the track and the video. but yeah, they're all fucking sick. I love that.
Oh yeah.
What went into filming your guys' Mathcore Index Fest? You guys did a run through of the tracks and then did everything as far as in like a small room. How did that go? Did you guys have to do that in a couple of sessions, or what did you do for filming that?
So it took us, we tried to plan it all because we're all in different states. Rue's in Oregon, I'm in Massachusetts, Sam and Chris are in California. So we tried to plan it as well as we could prior. But you can never plan for everything. So yeah, we went through the set at least 5 times. And then I tried to pair that with the visuals of us playing, which was not easy. But yeah, it was cool. It was supposed to look a little cooler, but the size of the room wasn't taken into account. That was my fault. I wanted to have 4 different projectors coming from behind each sheet, so that it would be like kind of rear projected. And then with the lights and it was a little bright, we couldn't see the people playing, so the projectors kind of suffered from it. But yeah, it was supposed to be a little cooler, but I like the way it came out.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it looks sick. It looks fucking great. I mean, it doesn't look like there was anything that was stumbled upon or just kind of last minute tossed together. It's one of those things I feel like sometimes helps too with being in like hardcore or punk, of the essence too, where it's like, it's not supposed to be overly polished. It's not supposed to look fucking like amazing, So sometimes when those things happen too, it kind of diminishes the overall, like aesthetic of things too. So yeah, I think that looked fucking awesome, and it was cool, being able to see that. Was that something that was for? I know that it was for like a fest, but was that shown at like a festival, or how did that come about?
So it did like a live stream. They had like a 3-day festival, and then they did like it was like set times for bands. So it was like, I think it was like 10 bands a day, and we just played that. We'll probably put out a DVD of it eventually with another band that was on that same festival called Thin out of New York.
Yeah, okay. You've done a video for them, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sick.
I think
Okay.
2 actually.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. That'd be fucking awesome. What about as far as with that? So you say that there's gonna be a DVD. Is there anything that you guys have planned musically wise as far as like moving out from here? Have you written anything, or do you have any plans of releasing further material?
Yeah. So Sam's always coming up with little melodies on his little weird keyboards, and those will build to become something eventually. Like Sam's making those little dweep to dupes, and Rue is making writing some songs on bass and things like that. And eventually it's all gonna come together and create something, but Lord knows when. Because Sam just had a baby, so it's just like
Oh, okay.
everything's off the table until the child
Yeah, for
grows.
sure, for sure. With, I mean, and not digging like, super, super personally, but what drew you into moving East Coast from being in California? Especially, I mean, like myself, I'm in Michigan, and the fucking going from sunshine all the time to snow and all sorts of bullshit. That's I don't know about that one.
I was getting kind of tired of California. I mean, I've lived there my entire life. Um, One silly reason is I'm a huge Stephen King fan, like huge, huge Stephen King fan. And reading his novels, it's like it talks about everywhere that we are, like, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. I was like,
Sure.
I need to get out there. And land's a little cheap out here. That's the big plan, is to buy some land and build a house and things like that. But
Shit.
yeah,
I mean,
that was the
I
main
love
goal.
that. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's, I mean, it's certainly one of those things, when you live here, like I've been in Michigan all my life, and it's just like, man, Florida or fucking California or Vegas, like Nevada, like that sounds so nice, deal with snow and all this bullshit. But the fun thing with that, with some of these things is some of the things with like Stephen King. I've always been a huge fan of his as well. So, just having some of the things as far as like, I'd love to make it up to Maine someday and,
Hmm.
go up there and, sightsee some of the things that, were possibly inspired, not
Yeah.
necessarily actual places, but, no, that's sick. I love that too. And then I loved. Is there any sort of? I'm trying to think. There's not any sort of like plan of release for the short that you did for his short, is there? I know that you have
No,
a trailer up, and I mean it looks fucking sweet.
if you go to my Instagram here
Uh,
and then drop down the link tree,
uh,
it's on there secretly, because I'm not technically allowed to post it online. I had it on YouTube, and he did a copyright claim, and I thought that was really cool because it said Stephen King got it taken down. So, but you can see it through my Instagram on there if you
oh
look.
shit! I completely missed that. Damn. I know because I saw the trailer on your website. It must have been.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
That looks so sick. I mean, that's one of those things I think that with Stephen King stuff, I've always loved his novels. I've always loved his stuff, but his short stories have always been like what has always absolutely like killed me. Like I've just loved like some of the short and like real to the point, like sometimes some of his stuff gets kind of overly wordy and you
Yeah,
spend fucking 3 chapters on the description of a door or some shit like that, but his short stuff is cool. How did
yeah.
you come to choose that short? Was there, certain things that drew you to depicting that into a short film?
I thought there was a lot of ways you could go with interpreting it. And I thought it was doable on, a smaller budget. I didn't think we'd actually be able to find a milk truck. So yeah, we repurposed a van to do that. But I just thought there was a lot of ways to interpret things. So I kind of, there's a relationship that's hinted at in the story, that he has a friend named Rocky, which
Mhm.
they follow up with in Milkman #2. But yeah, I turned it into a homoerotic relationship. I thought that would be interesting, and also I put a lot of Dark Tower nods in there. A lot of Dark
Oh,
Tower
nice.
stuff, and a lot of just like hints at other Stephen King things to put like a little connective tissue in there for
Sure.
people who are looking for it.
Were you a fan of Castle Rock? Did you ever get into that show at all, or not really?
I thought it was cool.
Mm.
It was interesting that they were doing different things with the characters, and like Annie Wilkes' daughter and things like that. I thought that was interesting, but yeah,
Yeah,
what we need is a
I
Dark
th-
Tower TV show.
that would be that would be sick. I would have to watch the. Or I'd have to read the books first, which I still have yet to divulge into those. My one buddy's obsessed with Stephen King too, and he dogs the fuck out of me for not getting into him yet.
It'll change
But
your
yeah, that
life.
he says the same thing. Yeah.
I think
Uh,
about the Dark Tower every day.
God damn. All right. Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to dig into that for sure. How many books are there again? Is it 6?
7, 7. There's
7.
like
Okay. All
it's
right.
technically 6.5 because one of them is like between other books. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's essentially a
Oh, okay.
flashback book,
Good
but it's
connection.
great.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I mean, and there's so many things too with his stuff too, where I feel what have been some of your favorite adaptations as far as a film fan?
Um, The Outsider was a fantastic adaptation. I think they got that one really well done. Just because they didn't shy away from the gruesome stuff of that
Hmm.
story. They changed a little bit, but yeah, that's fantastic novel and fantastic adaptation.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's there was one that was a little bit sillier, but I thought was sick was The Mist. Did you ever watch that one?
Oh, yeah, yeah. All timer. Yeah, that's great. They have a black and white version that makes the like the
Yeah,
CG a little more forgivable. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I really like The Mist. That's a great ending.
yeah. Yeah, the black and gray one for sure.
Hmm.
That was a sweet take. Almost one of those things where it was like, man, I kind of wish that they would have released it like this. Like
Yeah.
just the initial like straight up release was that. Like that's fucking sick. I dig that.
People have such an aversion to
Where
black and white though, so no one would have went and seen it except for us.
yeah. Right. Right. Where did your interest in horror start? Where was it something, like your earliest memory as far as where was it introduced to you?
My grandma started showing me horror movies way too early. She was sick and she was kind of, we didn't know when she was going to die, so my parents would leave me with her and my aunt to spend time so that I had a grandma and, all that. And she loved horror movies, so she would just put them on anyway. And I remember seeing, Night of the Living Dead at 6, but she showed me Hellraiser 3 at like 10 or something like that, and it just fucked me up. Like as an introduction to the series, it's really weird because it's like the most like cyber like
Yeah,
version of
right.
that story, like with the CD-ROMs and things like that. But yeah, she showed me that and and I just
Okay.
cried my eyes out. But eventually, I started to embrace it and like chase that feeling. It's like I need to be scared. Like it
Yeah.
makes life worth living.
Oh, damn, that's fun. I mean, as far as growing up, getting a little bit older and visiting local video shops, what comes to mind as far as something, scanning through the aisles and seeing something, as far as maybe even a poster or cover art for a VHS? What comes to mind as something that drew you in, just basically off the cover?
So there are tons because before, like my mom wouldn't let me rent horror movies. So like when we were at the checkout back when grocery stores did movie rentals and stuff like that, I'd wander
Hmm.
away, I'd go look at the horror boxes and just be like, damn, I wish I could rent these. And eventually I could. And there are a lot to mention, but one that I still think of is Redneck Zombies, which was I would just like I was like, wait, these zombies are having fun? Like, because on the cover, there's these, larger redneck zombies, and they've just got, like scantily clad women on there.
Yeah,
And then I finally saw it. I rented it, and it is the weirdest fucking movie. I think it's a Trauma movie now. It's at
it
least
has to
released
be.
through Trauma, and they like,
Yeah, has to
there's
be.
these weird, random art house moments scattered throughout the movie. Other than that, it's just a strange like backwoods zombie movie where they find out they kill the zombies with spray deodorant. It's
Oh
interesting.
my God. So I mean, that was one that that kind of felt like it was worth the art that drew you in. Were
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
pretty satisfied with it?
yeah. It came
Uh,
through with the promise of scantily clad women and redneck zombies.
there's just certain titles I feel like that you don't even have to like if you know Trauma, you don't have to really even look into what it is. It's just like you see surf Nazis must die, and it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
that's fucking Trauma. It's gonna be something absolutely ridiculous,
Attack of the
Class
Killer
Class of
Condoms.
Nukem High.
Yeah, yeah.
Attack of the Killer kind of. Oh my God. I'm trying to think of God, not Tromeo and Juliet. There's another one that fucking always. I'm trying to look at my movies really quick to see if I can remember what it was. I don't know. Anyway, Trauma, yeah, absolutely is ridiculous, and that was kind of like a. Did you guys have a Suncoast video? Was that like a thing
Oh
all
yeah,
around the U.S. or okay? That was
yeah.
like my introduction to seeing Trauma and seeing that label and seeing like it was mostly Toxic Avengers and Class of Nukem Highs, but they had every once in a while where it was like redneck zombies and, you know, some of this other shit where I was like, what is this? Like, how are these even getting releases? It's insane.
Yeah. So the last time I was at a Suncoast Video was probably in 2005, and I was buying a Australian zombie movie called Undead. But ahead of me in line was a younger kid. He had to be like 12 or something, and his mom was buying him a stack of anime porn. I just remember standing there just being like, what in the fuck? And I'll never forget that. So, that's my Suncoast story.
You even know what the fuck this is that you're buying your children?
She knew. She knew.
I mean, I don't know if that's cool or fucking weird. Like, what angle does that go? I'm not.
Him and his friends probably thought it was really cool. Who knows what kind of person he is today, though.
Yeah, Jesus. What about 3 scenes, let's say even in or out of horror, that are just forever ingrained in your brain? We recently kind of touched on a little bit this movie, Salo, which I will never turn on again. That movie fucked me up, the certain aspects of it for sure. I don't ever want to see it again. But what is something maybe even just, you know, so gross, scary, shocking, or just unexplainable that, you know, are forever ingrained in your brain? 3 scenes.
I know I wrote this down, but Possession with Isabella Adjani in the subway was, I don't know if that's the end. It's probably, you know, right at the beginning of the 3rd act, but that, something about that, yeah, I'll just never forget that. And geez, yeah. Can I leave this and scroll to? Oh, I guess not. You see me? I don't, sorry about that.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I was trying to scroll to my notes, but yeah, I can't. Yeah. I guess like, you know, you mentioned Gummo, that changed my life as well, that you could make a movie that weird and ugly.
yeah, for sure. I mean, and there was, like I say too, it was, I don't know if that was early 2000s or late 90s, you know, where it was different movies like Requiem for a Dream and Gummo, and god damn, I'm trying to think of this other movie too. It's not Bad Kids or Kids? Is that?
Kids?
That
yeah.
Okay, that one, and like I feel like there was another one, Elephant maybe. Is there a movie called
Elephant? The Gus Van Sant movie, the school shooting movie.
Yes, yeah.
Where it's the lives of the. I don't remember the cover, but yeah, it's like the lives of the school shooters leading up to that day when they go into school and.
Yeah. Okay.
Do that.
Yeah. There was plenty of those times, or like, you know, Faces of Death, being introduced to, you know, some of those things early on, and you're like, why the fuck am I entertaining this?
we loved Faces of Death in early high school. We just went nuts over that stuff, and it made you feel so weird. But then later on, you learn that, you know, half of it's fake.
Yeah, right.
There was a lot of real animal violence though, and I think that's what stuck in my mind the longest from that.
Yeah. That was I mean, that was always something too, where especially thinking of Faces of Death, you know, there were so many times where like my friends were like, oh, we just have to get this, and there were so many nights that were completely ruined from those fucking things, where it was like, and then later on, even worse is the fact that like a lot of the stuff was fake, you know. It's like, fuck, I've been scammed. But or you know, like with Cannibal Holocaust, you know, some of the stuff that came into mind where it was like all the animal violence and shit that, you know, still today is included in that movie. It's pretty fucking wild that they had some of that stuff in it that they did, but different times. I mean, for sure.
That's one of the best scores of all time, is that Cannibal Holocaust score.
They just do you know Severin Films?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They just released I think like a 300-page book on that movie, signed by Diodoro Rogerio. I'm trying to think of what the fucking the director's name is.
Diodario or something like that. Yeah.
We're probably fucking it up completely.
Yeah, me too.
But I wanted to snag that thing. The thing fucking sold out like, I don't know, with a quickness. But yeah, I was really
people love that shit.
That. Yeah, it was pretty insane. But they just released like a whole book on that, which was pretty sick. I wish I would have seen it, but as far as with horror movies, like spawning maybe some rational or irrational fears, what are some things that come to mind as far as watching a movie and knowing that, it would never happen in real life, but may have just stuck with you for so long after watching it?
So I don't know if it came from a movie or it came from like reading about Edgar Allan Poe talking about it when I was younger, but being buried alive is like my main thing, like,
Ugh.
which is so silly. Like, who's gonna bury you alive, you know? But I've always thought about that. Like, if I need to get down into the depths of my soul, I just think about being buried alive and being left there, and like being able to live long enough to know about it. So yeah, that's a
Terrible.
scary thing
And
for me.
very rational too. Yeah. Yeah. There was an artist that I interviewed, and he did different album covers and whatnot. And one of them was it's depicting like three different people's feet, like they're hanging, and they have bells attached to their feet, and the
Oh
person like
yeah.
under them is kind of orchestrating, like is playing music. And I'm like, holy
Hmm.
shit, how did that come about? And he's like, well, I was reading a story from like 18th century, basically how they used to have these things where they would have people seemingly dead. They would bury them, and just to make sure, they would attach a bell to like a string and have it
Yeah.
up. And if they would pull the string, you would know that they were alive and fucking buried. And I was like, holy fuck, that is terrifying. Like,
Did you see the
it's
autopsy of
scary.
Jane Doe?
I did, yeah. Yep.
They had
Emil
a
Hirsch.
they had a gag in that movie with the bell on the foot. When one of the corpses
I
has a
don't remember
bell on
that.
his toe, so when stuff starts getting scary, you hear the bell down the hall. It's a,
Oh, weird. Okay,
yeah,
I don't remember that for some reason. Did you like that movie? I
I
felt like
love
it
it.
wasn't huge into it.
I love it.
Maybe I
I
have to go
love
back
it.
and check it out.
I've seen it at least 5 times, which is wild because it's a newer film. But I just wanted to
Uh,
understand how that director orchestrates those scares so well. Because it's not like it hasn't been done before, that film, but it's just done so well that it actually scares me too. So
Damn, weird. I mean, that's insane, and that's cool though. I mean, as far as like you mentioned too, just kind of like in a sense of like even studying it, with how
hmm.
certain directors set up something where sure it's not something that's has never been done before, but the execution of it, like
Yep.
how did they pull this off? What is the pacing of it? What is and probably inspirational as far as with going in and doing something yourself too. So
Hmm.
and that's cool shit. That rules. What about as far as with plenty of horror movies, and especially we can even say with some Stephen King adaptations or books, the ending. What is it? What's a movie that that the ending was just as satisfying as the movie was? You didn't get to the very last part, and you're like, fuck, what is this? What did they do here? What's a movie that you love?
I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh,
Um,
dude.
just the chainsaw dance at the end of that. It's like something about that is so beautiful. Like you've spent this whole time like grueling experience with these people, and then at the end it's just like with that like amber sun background, and he's just dancing with the chainsaw. That younger when I was younger, I was just like, "What? I don't get it. Like this is stupid." But now it's just like it's beautiful to me. I love it.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, what did you think of the second movie?
I
Were you a
love that
fan of
one as
that?
well. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Dennis
dude.
Hopper with those dual chainsaws, and yeah, the
There's so much ridiculous in that movie for sure.
the the behind the scenes stories for that movie are really fucking cool. They were supposed to have a whole like a I think it was a college or a high school football game scene with like Joe Bob Briggs in it and all that shit. And it just didn't come out. But I fantasize about what that would have been like to have a Leatherface at a football game or something like that.
What was this filmed and just not released?
So Toby Hooper didn't have the time for it, and I think he sent off somebody else to go do it, and it just didn't come out. Like something about it just did not come out, and yeah, it was never been released. I don't think it exists. Period.
Oh
Um,
shit! Wow.
but yeah, it was supposed to have Joe Bob Briggs, so he tells the story a lot of the time. If you look that up, you can probably find Joe Bob Briggs telling the story.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I don't remember ever hearing anything about that. You know, it's always funny too because people talk about, and it's different, you know, in like the scares of like the original versus the sequel, but saying that, you know, the sequel isn't scary and there's nothing, you know, like creepy about it, but like the scene where he's in the back of the truck and like the you know, corpse falls off of him and you just, you know, see him for the first time, or like when he's like in the record shop and he pops out from like the back, those are fucking creepy. Or like my man being like skinned alive and he like comes
Yeah,
back to life and
the
shit.
face guy. Yeah, he wakes up
Dude.
without a face.
Oh man, there's some grueling shit in that movie for sure. And I mean, even you know, when he starts like pounding on his head with that hammer and fucking killing
Oh
him and
yeah.
shit, like there's some
Uh-huh.
gruesome, rough
Good
shit in
old
that
chop
movie.
top.
As silly, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
as silly as it is for sure. You know, I mean, there's some cool shit in that movie.
It's
With
loony for sure.
do you have any movies that are you know particular that come to mind as far as sequels wise that have always popped out to you that you've loved, possibly more than the original one?
Um, Demons. I kind of love Demons
Oh
too,
yeah,
just because they bring it to an apartment building.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
and just with all the characters, it never stays with anybody. I can't even remember who the protagonist is. But I guess there's not a true protagonist in Demons One either. But
Yeah.
yeah, something about Demons Two scares the shit out of me compared to the first one too. It's
Yeah,
like a high
nice.
rise going to hell. It's good stuff.
It sounds like that new Evil Dead whatever
Yeah, right.
sequel or whatnot is
Yeah,
supposed to be
yeah.
something kind of like
Hmm.
that too. That was the first thing I thought of was Demons 2.
Yep,
I
yep.
I there was a smaller town somewhere around me and they were doing a huge VHS sale and I was introduced to Demons 2 by they had a copy of that like next to I don't know fucking whatever other top, you know, like comedies and all this other goofy like drama shit that there was that was thousands of copies. There was a Demons 2 copy and I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh,
rad.
this looks kind of cool. I don't even know what the fuck this is." And picked that up and yeah, that fucked me up forever.
I have a
Lots of
Thai
good shit.
Thai import big bucks Demons Two VHS. It's one of my prized
Damn.
possessions.
Damn, that rules. Do you collect a lot of movies then?
I, c- I don't collect VHS anymore. I just have a couple. I gave them away before I moved because they're fucking bricks. Like to
Yeah.
to ship them or anything like that, it's just like this doesn't make any sense, and I don't watch them. So it's like, why do I hold on to them? So the only two VHSs I have now are Demons Two and The House by the Cemetery, the Lucio Fulci
Ooh.
movie.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
but I
Okay.
do collect Blu-ray and that kind of bullshit. I'm definitely a physical media person.
Sweet. Yeah, very cool. I don't know if you've ever heard speaking of Severn, they just recently released Night of the Demon. You ever watch that one with the
No,
Sasquatch?
no, I'm excited about that though.
Yeah, dude. They put up some really cool shit that I was like I was pretty surprised that they were going to actually release because that movie's been on. If you go on eBay, that movie's been fucking hundreds of dollars for a fucking DVD copy
Yeah,
forever. You know, so I was like, holy fuck, that's cool.
is it them or Vinegar Syndrome that's doing that the folklore one?
The Severn, they have the box
Oh,
set.
okay, that shit's gonna be sick, dude. I
Yeah,
mean, I
man.
can't afford it, but
With have you ever seen Blood on Satan's Claw?
yeah, yeah. We watched the documentary that comes with that box set, and
Yeah.
we wrote down so many folklore movies that we hadn't seen.
Oh man, that's like got to be one of my favorite subgenres of movie, especially like in the '70s. Like honestly, there hasn't been a whole lot of '70s stuff that I've ever been huge into. Like there's certain things that I like, but '80s has always been kind of like my thing. But those the folklore or like have you ever seen V? Or I don't know if it's Vi
Oh yeah,
VIY.
Vish. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
the I think it's the 20s. It's a Russian film about
dude.
the Frere. Yeah, yeah.
That
That's a
movie's
wild
fucking
one.
sweet too. Quite imaginative, especially when you look into like the time that it was made. You know, you're like, that's pretty fucking intense for some of the things that they accomplish with that.
It's a huge inspiration for Evil Dead, actually. I think for Sam Raimi and them, because they use a lot of the same effects and like camera tricks and things like that.
Oh, sure. Okay. I guess I could see that now thinking about
Yeah.
it, but I don't think at the
Hmm.
time I had drawn that. Okay, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rules. I mean, and they're doing a lot of really cool things too with some of the folklore and some of the releases that they're putting out. And right now
Hmm.
being a horror fan is cool because there's a lot of shit, you know, they have just figures and kind of, you know, like poster art and all that they have releasing out too. So that's sick.
Yeah, they didn't have
What
shit
about
like this when we were kids.
no, 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 not at all. I mean, it seemed like it was just DVDs and that was kind of about it. Or you'd get like a shitty stock poster or something that was like
Yeah.
11 by 17. And, but I mean, now you can get a whole fucking room size of
Yeah.
something that you're wanting alternative art. So digging into, you know, this inspiring you as far as making films and kind of, you know, getting into, you know, the like, bring us back to your first efforts as far as making a film of your own and what movies or directors may have influenced your style.
So my first attempt at making one was in 2013. It's called M is for Melancholy, and it's I still kind of like it. I'm kind of proud of it still. And as far as inspiration, I think around that time and still, I'm a huge fan of Shinya Tsukamoto. Do you know that guy? He did Tetsuo, the Iron Man.
Oh yeah, okay.
Snake of June. He's a really weird fetishistic filmmaker who dabbles in like horror and, you know, just weird imagery.
Sure.
So him and, you know, of course, David Lynch and like Gaspar Noé.
Oof. That's another rough one.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Irreversible earlier, but
oh yeah.
in terms of like scenes that have affected me, but it's like I don't know if I should give that some time.
I mean, even like the fire hydrant scene, like first time seeing that, like how did you pull that off? That was insane. Right? First time like seeing that.
All in one take, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Because it does not really cut away, but that guy's head turns into fucking spaghetti. That shit is gnarly, dude.
Yeah, that movie is rough, but I'm trying to think of what is there's a movie that he did with Edward Furlong, and they're in it was based on a true story. They're in a prison cell. You know what I'm talking about?
Gaspar Noé?
Yeah.
No.
It takes place in a prison cell. It's maybe mid-2000s. Basically, it's 5 prisoners in a cell, and they it's like leading up to basically them convincing this one prisoner to kill himself, to hang himself.
Oh, interesting.
And so, like, it goes over all of, like, their, like, conversations and interviews of, like, what happened and trying to cover up the fact that they had anything to do with it. It's grisly, man. I mean, it's fucking
interesting.
Him.
Yeah.
I'll have to look up and I'll have to see what it was called. But I stumbled upon it and I was like, "Fuck, man, I messed up." But anyway, as far as with you mentioning too with M is for Melancholy, so that was for ABC's of Death too, right? You had submitted that.
Yeah. And it did not win, obviously, but it got a lot of views as a result. I'm grateful for that. Sick. And it pushed me to make a movie. I don't think I ever would have started it if it hadn't been for some silly contest, which I'm grateful for.
That ruled. I didn't know that was the first thing that you did then. Okay. There's I mean, there's a lot of cool things on that too. That ABC's of Death, I think the first one I wasn't huge on, but the second one that they came out with, there was a lot of fucking really cool stuff. So it's probably a hard competition, you know, as far as some of the stuff that did end up making it.
I think the one that won was the claymation one by Lee Hardcastle. I think it was T is for, or no, what? Maybe I'm tripping. I thought it was T is for toilet with the claymation that about the toilet that eats the family, but I could be wrong.
Oh shit. Okay. Do you have a couple more minutes here? This is trying to cut me off, and I don't want this to kill the conversation here really quick. All right. I'm gonna save this real fast, and then we'll be right back. I'll start it up and rejoin. Let's see here. Aha! All right, here we go. Sorry, it takes a minute for it to save sometimes for whatever reason.
No worries.
Take longer when I've got shit going on.
Yeah.
So okay, so we were talking about you know, just as far as like your work and inspirations and different things like that. How about as far as, does something come to mind through your work? Has there ever been a time where you had an idea and you weren't sure if it was, you know, if it would work, but it ended up being better than what you had imagined? Maybe something that you scratched on paper and you're like, I don't know if I could pull this off, and then going to shoot it and turned out awesome or terribly.
Yeah, I mean, nothing ever comes out the way you want it to or you expect it to when you don't have any money and you're doing it yourself. But
Right.
the Thin video that I recently did, I did not expect that to come out as well as that did. Because I built some structures in a field and like, tried to make it look as cool as possible. And something about it did come out pretty well, actually.
Yeah, sick. Okay. All right. Is there anything that that comes to mind that like just completely pissed you off? That was something that seemingly it didn't seem like it was going to be anything all that, and then you're just like, this is not fucking working out.
Yeah, so the second short I did called "The Dog Barks," it was written to be completely different than what it is. We essentially had to just cobble that together uh, after we had filmed it. We came away with this much footage, and I just had to create a story out of that because we went into it super gung ho, but we had no people helping us. So, of course, it came out the way it did, and I'm still happy with it. But something about it, I'm just like, someday I would like to make the film that I wrote that to be when I have
Oh, okay.
money. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I mean, and there's certain things too, where it's like that's that time and place, when you go into something and maybe it's not something that initially was panned out, but cool with it being like a product, even if it isn't initially what you had thought. Gearing
yeah,
back and looking back at it, it's like fuck. I mean, this is still pretty sick. It's still something that I put that time into, and a time that you can look back on for sure.
yeah. I'm still proud of it. Yeah, for sure.
With
Learning. It's a lesson.
Yeah, right, right. It's like a practice. You have a doctor.
Yeah,
They don't know what the fuck they're doing all the time.
exactly.
Half of the time, it's like you're way off. Shit.
Yeah.
Just gotta keep going and try to perfect it as much as you can.
Amen.
With your short Two Ghouls, I wanted to dig into that as far as being your first effort in footage film. What can you tell us about that bad boy, and maybe some of your favorites in the found footage genre?
So my buddies, they run a found footage festival out of San Francisco called the Unnamed Footage Festival. I think it's in its fourth year now, and I was like, I want to take part. So I was like, I'll make a found footage movie. So we made that, and it is heavily inspired by Gummo, actually. And Yeah, and then some of my favorites that I've actually found through them. There's one called Descent into Darkness, My European Nightmare. You can find it on Amazon, and it's
Oh, okay.
about a an exchange student that wins this competition to go to Paris, and to just film it and put that on the internet and show his experience, and it just goes terribly. It is so gnarly. And by the end, it's a
Oh,
true nightmare. It's really good. And then another one is Butterfly Kisses. Really
oh, okay.
interesting Baltimore, Maryland found footage film. Unfortunately, the filmmaker recently killed himself. Oh, I don't know if I should have said that, but he passed away. So yeah, very, very sad because he had some talent.
Damn, that's too bad. Wow. What a bummer. I mean, you have certain things like that too, and especially with something that's a talent. Losing some of the things, some of the musicians that we have, and some of the filmmakers. It's always shitty to think about, like all the cool stuff that would have come, like had they
Right.
still, been around too. So yeah,
Hmm.
that stinks for sure. I mean, within found footage, are there certain things like you have like some of the bigger movies that have come out, or even like in theaters wise? Has there been anything that has like caught your attention or something that you remember liking other than like Blair Witch?
I liked As Above, So Below a lot.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, that
the
movie
one
was surprisingly good.
the catacombs one, yeah, that it's
Hmm.
good. It's kind of like a Dante's Inferno play, but yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. My buddy was telling me about that, and I didn't fall for it for the longest time. And I'm like, that does not look good. And yeah, it was
Yeah,
surprisingly fucking good. That one's
yeah, it's
really
got
good.
some creepy
Um,
moments.
I'm trying to think of. You ever watch Lake Mungo? You ever heard of that one?
Yep, it's great. There's a fantastic scare in that movie.
Yeah, for sure. I had never seen it up until recently. and a lot of friends telling me about it, and it was just what I don't think I think found footage is one of those like genres that or subgenres that I've never been overly huge into.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie was effective, and that movie was really good, really good.
It's
Bummer,
wild. A
yeah,
lot
at
of
some points
those,
for sure,
yeah,
but
a lot of those
mhm.
actors are non-actors. Like they don't act, but they fucking kill it. They're so believable. Like that, it. I almost started to believe that movie at a certain point, and then it does a little 180, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
But
sure.
yeah, that's a great film. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is, look, man, I've been having so much fun with digging into, the music and movies and different things like that. I don't want to take up, a whole lot of your time here today, but
Oh, it's been a
I wanted to
blast, man.
wrap, and I do have a finale here for you, but what do you have going on right now? Are you working on anything film wise, anything music wise?
Yeah, I wrote a film in 2020 that I've been trying to get funded since I wrote it, and it's been an interesting journey trying to get that done. We may just start a crowdfunding campaign, um, but yeah,
Okay.
that's a feature, so that would be my first my feature directorial debut. So
Oh
that's
shit.
my main
Okay.
thing right now. That and just drawing. You know, I draw a lot.
I know, and I noticed too. So with Heavy Lolo, you did some of the art for that too, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And I see certain things, and certainly I think it's the handwriting is always kind of what gives it away. If I'm not so sure, it's always like the font where I'm like, oh shit, that's Robbie stuff. That's sick. I love
Yeah, yeah.
it. So
I'm writing all
you've
over the place.
yeah, you've been doing further things too, because I know you've had recently different bands that you've been working with and doing.
Hmm.
I believe it was like a tour poster, or I'm trying to think of the band now. Um,
uh, for your health, maybe, or I don't know.
Portrait of Guilt.
Oh yeah, portrayal of guilt or
Portrayal of Guilt.
portrait.
There you
Portrait.
go.
I don't. I forget what their fucking name is. Yeah, yeah. Them and it was them and for your health. That flyer. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, got ya. I'll edit out the audio there, and we'll just have it like we're fucking saying the name of the band apologetically.
Sounds good.
Doesn't fucking line up at all, but it'll be
Yeah.
fine. It'll be a good edit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with your draw, are you doing anything as far as like working on like specific projects, or is this just different things that you're putting out painting wise or anything?
I do a lot of it for myself. I just don't post it. But yeah, a lot of bands they'll just come to me and they'll ask for something and I'll draw. But mostly what I've been working on is the feature and trying to get that made.
Sweet, sweet. And that was written. You said you've been in the process with that since like last year.
Yeah, 2020, like right when the pandemic hit and I had a ton of time, I wrote a feature.
Oh, damn. Okay, nice. Is that anything that have you shot anything for it?
No, I've created a tone trailer. I've pitch decks, all of the stuff that we need to present to investors and things. But no, we haven't shot anything. I want it to be perfect. I All of the stuff I make with no money, it's kind of like a slapdash punk DIY nature. With this, like I just cannot fuck this movie up. Like, yeah, I gotta make it the way it needs to be made.
Damn. I mean, in all the stuff too, like I can say surprisingly, a lot of the video or a lot of the videos that you have like on your page, you mentioned shooting like on an iPhone or on a phone or whatnot. And
Hmm.
like it's pretty insane seeing some of the stuff that like you can make just with like a phone. I mean, like
Yeah,
not
yeah, it's
having this
wild.
huge fucking crew and all that, like, looking legit.
Hmm.
And then obviously, you have like the trailer that you did for the Stephen King promotion or project there.
Hmm.
And that was that shot on a phone too?
No, no, no. We
Okay, so
that's
that was like that was like your first production or something, right? That you had mentioned like
Yeah,
with like a
yeah.
team and everything. Okay,
Yep,
okay.
the first time I've ever worked with a crew was on that, and it was glorious. I've and this feature that I'm trying to put together, I plan on bringing all of them back, and then we'll just keep working together until we're tired of it.
Yeah. Okay, nice. What one last one I forgot to jot down to, but I wanted to dig into was your short. Was it the Grown Room where it's the all green and the two kind of fighting to the death, basically?
Oh yeah, groaning love. Yeah, yeah.
Groaning Love.
So
Okay,
that
okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, after I made Dog Barks, I was like, I need to make something. So we came up with that overnight, and we went to Home Depot and we bought a bunch of plastic sheeting, and we just hung it in my kitchen and made my kitchen look fucking crazy. And tore out a bunch of pages from books and threw them on the ground, and a lot of blood. Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing too is like thinking of like, just the aspect of what went into cleaning after that thing. Like that was just, I can imagine a whole fucking night of like, God damn it, why did I do this?
Yeah, it was a shit show. Yeah, there's so much blood everywhere. I was like, I didn't think that was one of the motivations for putting the pages on the ground, other than just like an aesthetic. But then
Oh
the
God.
blood went right through the pages, and like it's stuck them to the ground. Like I think up until when we moved out, we were still like peeling bloody pages off of the ground.
Oh, so this was in your old place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean that's kind of nice that just in case if some of the shit's seeping up through the ground or through the tile at some point, you're like, well, I don't have to deal with it at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be
We
an
did not
interesting
get that
story for the
deposit.
new.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's funny, dear Lord. All right, well, look, I'm gonna end it off here. I wanna ask about I have an idea as far as finale with digging into some of your film wise. First of all, I wanted to dig into your short Snake Bite, and then along with that, I wanted to ask you what three of your favorite when animals attack movies are, and if you could make one, what would it be? What kind of an animal would you have? Attacking, ravaging a cast and crew.
Jeez.
Three questions.
Yeah,
So
that's a
first
good
of all,
one.
talking about the snake bite.
So Snakebite, that was another one I created for the Unnamed Footage Festival. It was supposed to just be
Okay.
kind of like a YouTuber popping on live, kind of like what you're doing here, and just speaking to his followers, and just figuring out, because he didn't have insurance or whatever, just like figuring out what to do after being bit by this, snake after his first day working at a zoo. It's so silly, but it was just an excuse to um, use what I had learned latex wise. So I was
Oh, okay.
learning how to create scars and burns and things like that. And I was like, what could I do to make this a short film? So yeah, that's what I came up with, and I quite like it. The sound isn't very great, but yeah, I like the way it came out. And then, gosh, three animal attacks movies. I'm not a huge fan of them. Have you seen Roar?
I
It's
have not.
a
I know what it is though.
Yeah, it's about the family it's a real family that had a ton of lions and wild animals living on their property. And they tried to create a film about it over the course of like 5 years, because people on the crew and the actors kept getting mauled by the lions. They were like, "Oh, we can just act with these lions," and these lions are fucking wild. So they sometimes they would take a chunk out of someone's arm, or they. I
Holy
think somebody
shit.
actually got scalped. I think one of the actors was scalped when the lion was just like, "Oh, let me just like pet you," or something like that, and just like ripped
Oh
off his
my
scalp. So
God.
it's fascinating.
That's
It's
not
not
the
a
movie at all
good
that I was
movie.
thinking of.
Oh, okay. It's not a good movie, but it's fascinating. And if you get the Blu-ray, I think it came out through Draft House Films. There's a ton of like wild, wild extras on there about filming it.
Holy shit. Wow, that's crazy.
And
Oh
then
my God.
one other animal attacks movie, Wild Beasts, I think it was. I think
Okay.
it's an Italian film, and PCP gets into a the zoo's water line, and the animal goes fucking nuts. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of like real animal violence and things like that. It's not pleasant, but it's
Oh.
certainly something that if you're watching it around other people, it's pretty wild and fun to
Oh
watch.
God. Damn. There's an older movie when I watched Snake Bite. It made me think of have you ever heard of Spasms?
I've heard of it. No,
There's
what
there's
is it?
it's like basically like snakes that are, I can't remember if they're like injected with something or got into something, but they're biting these people and like their skin is just completely like boiling out and they're fucking like exploding from like these like ravaged snakes going and like attacking people and shit. And I was like, oh my God, that made me think of that.
I gotta see that.
Yeah. What would be, if you had the opportunity, if you had to make something, you know, maybe for a film festival, if they were saying you had to make an animals attack, what kind of a movie would you make?
Do I have a good budget? Or
sure.
Is it okay?
if that would help.
You know what? I would do a buffalo story, and I would set it in the Wild West, and I would have a killer buffalo.
Whoa, that'd be
maybe like
shit.
The Last White Buffalo, yeah, something like that. Did you ever see Razorback? The
I was just gonna say like Razorback.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, fuck yeah, that is awesome. That movie's ridiculous, but in the best of ways, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can, you know, it would be something too, because like the whole Western kind of horror thing, I feel like in the last like few years has been a thing, you know, like
Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk. Yeah, you've seen that one?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of
sick.
That filmmaker, S. Craig Zahler.
S. Craig Zahler. Yeah, man. Have you ever read any of his books?
You know, I have two of them, but I started one of his westerns, A Confederation of Jackals, and I must have just not been in the mood. It was so brutal that I was just like, you know, I can't do this right now, but I'll come back to it.
Oh, man.
He's got a lot in common with like Nick Cave and Cormac McCarthy's writing style. So that does make me want to go back to it. He's a little uglier than Nick Cave or Cormac McCarthy in terms of violence and like how much time he spends on his violence. So yeah, I think I stopped Confederation of Jackals halfway through. I was just like, this is too much right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like, I think it's that book when at the toward the end, and this isn't giving away anything or what, but
yeah,
you
please
have you have where they're almost feeling cornered. And like I say, this isn't, you know, anything that's like in the finale or whatnot, but they're like trying to figure out of like how to fight back. And there's, you know, like people that are left or whatnot against this like huge brood of people coming after them. And there's a particular moment where he starts explaining that they're going to hang up someone that they have as a slave, or someone that they're keeping, you know, like as a kind of as like a value, you know, to the other people.
Yeah.
And they hang them by the feet by fucking barbed wire, and like hang them upside down by a post outside of the building so that they like stop coming at them. And I'm like, oh my God, like,
wow,
how do you come up with this shit, man? It's like insane, like terribly. I mean, you know, there's different things where you see in horror movies where it's like, how did you think of that? But there's some shit that dude has put in books or movie. He just recently did I think last year he did a graphic novel. And it's like, you know, it's just funny seeing some of the things he drew or illustrated the whole thing too, wrote and illustrated.
Oh, did he?
And
Jesus.
Yeah, just some of the things that like he like drew out and shit are like completely silly, but it's like, God, that is gross.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I totally
have a
love
book
that
of his
stuff.
that I don't know if it's supposed to be a children's book or you know, like a young adult book or something. It's called Hug Chicken Penny. Do you know of that one?
Dude, that's my favorite book of his.
Oh, okay.
He's supposed to make that into a movie with Jim Henson's group.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me excited to dive into that
thing.
then.
Oh, dude, there's so much cool shit. It's weird because it's sadly heartbreaking for like all the stuff that happens to this poor kid. And like by the end, you know, it's like so many goofy things that are going on, but it's like, I feel like I'm going to fucking break down right now. Like I feel terrible.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
I love that book, man. That was certainly one of my favorites for sure. I love that one. I'm glad that you brought that up too, because that was kind of what drew me into so weird, and like some of the imagination that he has with like, there's a whole at one point like a barn of just these like mystical like creatures and shit. Check it out. Give it another chance.
I'll start it today.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. This has been absolutely awesome. I could have you on talking music and movies all day long, but want to give you your time to enjoy the rest of the day, my man. So first, thank you very, very much. And I
Oh yeah.
appreciate you taking the time today, my man.
Yeah, yeah, it's been awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Whenever this this movie or next feature whatnot, if if I see something, I'll reach out and hopefully do something on that and maybe dig into some behind the scenes with that. And I look forward to what you got coming, man.
Dude, I'd love that. That'd be awesome.
All right. You take care. Thank you really
Radical.
for watching. This will
Yeah,
be
yeah.
on YouTube here in the next few weeks, and I'll have this on. You stay healthy and stay safe, my man.
Thank you. You as well, my friend.
All
Later.
right. See ya.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.